Good morning. What's new? Well, foreign policy is on my mind. Ours and Israel's. I'd like to look at both of them. I'm not terribly keen on what we call foreign policy here in America. It seems to me we're not proactive. Forget preemptive. We don't talk to our enemies, and we've probably been in more wars than we really needed to be in. Why? Because we don't have really good advice at the top. And also because many of our presidents don't care to engage in the world. Today, you have to engage in the world. China didn't subvert our elections. Russia did. And Russia propaganda is still alive and well in America. Probably started with Cambridge Analytica in 2011. And boy, when Trump came into power, it was Russian propaganda on steroids. So much so that our own senators gave polling information to the Russian ambassador. You can look it up. It's a fact. And today, Joe Biden has the opportunity to meet with Xi Jinping and talk about events. Because I believe if anyone could curtail Russia's colonial excursion into Ukraine, it's China. And we ought to be encouraging China to do the right thing. Based on what we do in our own country in terms of education, in terms of repression of the vote, we're not so democratic. Far be it for us to be judgmental. And if Bibi Netanyahu wants to come here and speak with Joe Biden, I think that's a great time and a great opportunity for Biden and Bibi. I was a basic supporter of Bibi Netanyahu. I was absolutely against the Iranian treaty. I sat in on conversations with Netanyahu and with Obama. I read the 155-page treaty. It made me so aggravated that after I commented on it, I couldn't look at it or think about it for months because I knew that it would lead to this point. And when you talk about Iran, you got to go back to Bush when Iran only had 900 centrifuges and wanted to sit down and talk about peace. Why despots always use weapons as a methodology to get ahead, I don't know, but that's what they do. Weapons first. He went from 900 to 5,000, and I guess when he got to about 18,000, that's when Obama decided he'd speak with him. It was a little too late, folks. They'd already developed the technology. And who was their closest bud? Russia. And who built some of their plants? Russia. And who got the uranium when the treaty was signed so that Iran would not have weaponized plutonium or uranium? Russia. Well, we've always seemed to be betting on the wrong horse. Putin was not someone to trust. It should have gone to a neutral country, somebody who didn't care about the success of Iran and wasn't intertwined with Iranian affairs as much as Russia was. And now what have we got? We got an Iran that is now brokering drones and other weapons to the world, doing it while their people are starving, while they're running out of water, while the Republican Guards own a third of the country. And they really do probably still need nuclear medicine. But that's not what powers the Iran theocracy. Power, money, and lack of caring for the people. That powers the Iran theocracy. And let's look at Israel. Sure, I understand. For 75 years, they've been warding off enemies. They've had a lot of enemies and a lot of wars, unfortunately. But now it's 75 years later since the end of World War II, and they've got the Abraham Accords. And they're finally realizing the dream of a united Middle East. And what happens? Bibi gets into power once again with an ultra-right-wing majority, and these folks care about nothing but their theocracy, the absolute rule of the Torah in a country that's pluralistic. Israel has many nations that makes up modern Israel today. They took in the Cambodian boat people. They've got the Ethiopian Jews. They've got Mizrahi Jews, the Jews who came from the Middle East and were displaced. They've got the Ashkenazi Jews, the Jews who came from Eastern Europe and survived the Holocaust. They've got a lot of different cultures amidst them. To have a minority group rule Israel is absolutely wrong. Just like here in America, government should represent we the people. Israelis, when polled, said they wouldn't vote for this ultra-right government. And what's splitting them apart? It's judicial reform. Not just judicial reform. Israel actually needs lots of reforms. In the 75 years that they've been around, and they've kept territories, and they've given back territories, they were founded on a simple tenet, which was that they would be a democratic state and they would do justice by their people. That meant all the people. Israel today most likely needs a constitution. And as we know, a constitution takes time. You need a dedicated group of scholars and ethicists and moralists to write it, not the ultra-right theocracy, not folks who don't pledge allegiance to the state of Israel themselves. Sure, I believe in the Hasidic right to exist, and I believe in their right to Torah and to preach Torah so that the Jewish religion does not die out. But do I believe that they should write all the laws for all of us, the 6 million of us or 7 who are here in America, and rule over my life as well? No, sirree, I certainly don't. I'm a Reformed Jew at this point, and I consider myself as Jewish as the next person. And I don't even read Hebrew. I'm not proud of it. I've memorized a lot of it. But I don't. Does that mean I'm less of a Jew? I believe in Tikkun Olam. I believe in giving back to society. And I do that every single day of my life. Tonight, I'm hosting a home Havdalah, so I'm Jewish. But if I went to Israel, would I be considered a Jew? I don't know. I bar mitzvahed my son at the Wailing Wall in 1979. We were all there, my entire family. I consider myself Jewish. And yet, when I went back with my grandson in 2011, 2012, we didn't want to be separated at the Wailing Wall because women were still separate. And so my grandson said, Graham, I don't want to go without you. And we didn't go, and we went to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre instead. Wouldn't it have been better if the two of us could have gone to the Wailing Wall together and prayed together and looked at its marvels? I think it would have been a better experience for him and for me, because I remember when my son was bar mitzvahed, standing on chairs so I could look over the mechitza and watch this wondrous event. Getting back to Bibi, don't wait for the country to go up in flames. Enough people in power who are the real power, not the people in government, but the real people of the state of Israel, are protesting. When you've got the IDF protesting, you've got El Al protesting, you've got teachers protesting, you've got Nobel Prize winners protesting. Think twice about what you're doing. When do you come back to Israel? When it's in flames? When your coalition has destroyed whatever factions of civil society you had? Don't wait. I realize that judicial reform takes time. I'm not pleased with the politicalization of the judiciary in my country. I think we've gone a step too far as it is. I'm not happy with a conservative court. I was perfectly happy under William Douglas and the conservation movement. I understand politicization of the judiciary, but not Congress overriding the judiciary, because then you have no checks and balances of the Knesset. And the Knesset is like our Congress, so you can't have Congress overruling the judiciary. I'm not so sure the judiciary should be overruling Congress either. Have I come up with a one-state solution that's democratic, that works like the United States and has a constitution? Yeah, I have. Have I come up with a two-state solution that gives Israel 70 or 60% of the property in the Western territories? I have. But the key to a democratic society, and we need it here and we need it there, is education for everybody. Also, programs for youth, whether it's Israeli youth or it's Arab youth. They need programs. 18 to 24 are impressionable ages. Nobody should be idle. Nobody. Shame on the PA for not installing community centers, apprenticeships, and giving the young kids a job. Shame for not moving away from terrorism finally, after 75 years, and acknowledging that this is the state you've got, and thinking about how can you make it better. A government that wants to see 80% of its people miserable is not a government that will stand. Now, I think Bibi is smart. If he's still smart, he'll meet with Biden and Biden will meet with him, and he will come up with a solution quickly to either save his government, form a new government, and still maintain a legacy where he has brought cooperation and peace to the Middle East. We don't need more wars. We see how devastating the war in Ukraine is. We see what propaganda does to people. In Taiwan, they've got an interesting way of countering propaganda from the Chinese. It's called 222. In the Jewish religion, in Yiddish, when you went 222 like that, it was kind of like to ward off evil spirits. So maybe the Chinese in Taiwan are on the right track. What it means is, yeah, the lies from China come in. They hear the lies. Within 2 hours, the government must have a response to undermine those lines. It must be in 200 words with 2 illustrations that are easy for the public to understand, that what they're hearing from China is a lie. If we had done it here, with all the misconceptions and lies that are on the internet and on Fox News, we wouldn't have a divided nation here. It would be a better society here. And what else do they do in Taiwan? They educate their kids at an early age to distinguish between truth and lies. That's a proactive society. That's a society we should all respect and copy. Because it means that when the Taiwanese went to the polls and they were polled, 80% said they had heard the lies. They knew it was lies. They discounted it. 20% didn't. But that 20% no longer counts. Shouldn't count in our country where the 20% is leading the country, nor should it count in Israel where the 20% is the majority voice. The extremes don't work. So that's my thoughts on public policy today, foreign policy, and a little bit of propaganda. Let's be proactive. Israel's going to have to be proactive. And I gotta tell you, even though I'm criticizing, my heart belongs to Israel. I've been there 10 times. I'll go back, I know, because I've been asked to do more in my temple.